May 11th, White County Board of Education board meeting to order. This time, if you would, please rise and ask Mr. Jason McDonald to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Appreciate board members and members of our public joining us tonight. Also, this is the first time that the White County Board of Education meetings will be broadcast live on YouTube. And so thanks to Ms. Rust, we have technology in place that we think we will be able to navigate through and then provide the content of our meeting out to the public as they so choose to view. So if you're online and viewing, we welcome you as well. Reading of our agenda tonight and giving you this preview, there are several approvals that we need to make, and we have some items coming up on teacher tenure, and then of course reviewing our evaluation of directors of schools, as we do that annually. Of course there's guidelines that we follow for policies. If there's any conflict of interest, we will certainly note that. The public has opportunity to present, speak in the public comment section of our meeting. If anyone is signed up for to be recognized tonight, that they will be recognized at the appropriate time. So at this time, we'll move down to our next item on the agenda, and that's the disclosure of conflicts of interest. This time, I'll allow any board member that would like to just make a disclosure. You can do so now.
Mr. Chairman, I would state, as I do each and every meeting, that my wife being a teacher in the district, the views and the comments that you will hear me say tonight are strictly my own and for the best interest of the students of White County.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, I will state the same as Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
Mr. Chairman, I say the same thing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howard. So let me noted that Mr. McDonald, Mr. Hickey, and Mr. Howard all acknowledge that they do have staff or relatives that work in the school system, and but they will be voting on their own accord. So next item on our agenda is our consent agenda that would consist of approving of the agenda for this meeting, approval of the minutes for our meetings that was held on April 13th of 2023, and then also approval of the budget amendments as transfers that were reviewed during our committee meeting at 5. So as always, if there are any items on our consent agenda that needs to be pulled forward, you can make a motion to do so. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. McDonald. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hastings. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is moving into the director's evaluation. By policy, we evaluate our director on an annual basis, and we have a form that is used, questionnaire that's sent out to board members that asks board members to evaluate on various things: staff and personal relationships, educational leadership, business and finance, strategic planning skills. So that information was, that survey was sent out a couple weeks ago. Responses were requested to be turned in by last week, and so Ms. Rust has compiled those, and that information was submitted to you. So you do have that data and the results from that evaluation from the board. You also have Mr. Drombarger, who was also asked to do a self-evaluation, and so at this time we will go through and have discussion on the results of that evaluation. So with that being said, you have composites of the scores. There was a response that skewed the overall results one way, so we'll give you the opportunity to look and see how that played out in both of those scenarios, with those responses and without. And then there's also, as you go through the results, the board members are asked to add comments for the particular line item if a score of 2 or below is given. You can also make comments. It's not required, but you can make comments regardless of what score you give on a particular evaluation item. But scores of 2 or below responses are required. That information was provided to you as well, and then there was also a written response that was turned in. So at this, then one other item that was added that I did, Ms. Russ took care of the compiling the results from the evaluation. I took the data and provided you when I sent this out, basically the responses by board members, and broke it down with the evaluation items where the score was 3.5 or higher. Then worked down to providing the results of items that where there was a score of below 2 or at that I guess area for that would be trending towards needs improvement. So that information was provided to you as well. The other one was, as I said, the average, where the average of the responses were between 3.0 and 3.49. So that information was just something that I provided to you, just breaking down so you could see, give you a perspective of how as a board collectively we were rating on those various topics. So in evaluation, we want to give everyone a chance to respond and share comments on our director. We'll also give our director the opportunity to speak as well. So going with the tried and true method of order, we'll start with alphabetical order by last name, and so that would be Ms. Haston. Are there any comments you'd like to make on the valuation?
Not really. I think I did. Not really. I think I did that, as well as when we did the evaluation. I feel like hers has changed a lot from last year as far as the response. I had some concern last year about with teachers and parents, and I feel like you've come a long way in this past year.
Thank you.
Okay. Next would be Mr. Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think, as far as going through the evaluation, definitely put in, what I feel is honest answers, and, just to sum it up, and I think someone put in that comment also that, we just appreciate, Mr. Drumbarger and everything he's done for the school system. Nobody's perfect. I know there's room for improvement on certain things, but man, it's gotta be a stressful job. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, for sure, but no, it's, his efforts are greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Mr. Howard.
I don't have any comments about, any extra comments about what I've written, what I've put down. If Mr. Drumbarger wants to meet me in person, I met him last year in person, and I'd gladly talk to him about anything. I do have one question. Why, I know my score is probably the lowest, but why is it the tallies with my scores and without my scores? Is there a certain point that is supposed to be met, is needed to be met, or just because of?
we did want to just give the board the opportunity to look at how that impacted the overall board's, the rest of the members' scores as far as that skewing the responses that were given, that would include the entire board. Those were given. Those are the first that were listed, and we can discuss those particular scores here shortly. Okay, guess that next would be Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, I want to echo what Mr. Hickey said. I appreciate everything Mr. D does. I don't think there's enough money for me to be in that position. I don't have the degree to be able to take that position, but the things that he has to deal with on a daily basis and the lives that he has in his hands on a daily basis, I think he does a fantastic job. I don't agree with everything he does, and he probably doesn't agree with everything I do, but I appreciate the job that he does for this school and this system. I think he's got great leaders in place. Got a few of them in the room tonight, and just want them to know that we appreciate the job that they do in following what Mr. D lays out. So, Mr. D, thank you for everything you do for our schools.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, I don't have any further comment. It looks like everything's pretty well covered.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stone.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything to answer further.
Okay, thank you. I think from my perspective, I thought that Mr. Stromberger, you're certainly working to achieve excellence in our district, and we appreciate that. I don't think that the evaluation the questions that we are evaluating on, I don't think those are adequate to reflect the work that a director for this district should be measured on. And so at this time, I would make a motion that we change our evaluation model for the 2023-2024 year for our director to reflect based on the strategic plan that we put together for the next year.
I would second that.
Have a motion and a second. Have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think it's a great idea. There's some things in there that I was asked to give an evaluation on that me as a board member, I wouldn't even have the opportunity to really see. Some of the day-to-day things that he does, I feel confident of his abilities to handle and move the staff and all the day-to-day operations, but you just don't get a chance to see them. So if there was an opportunity sometime or another to change the wording in that, or allow us to just experience just a little bit of it, because all we hear is hearsay, even if we could make an evaluation of it. And a lot of my scores reflected of, I don't know, so do I give a low, medium, or high? So my problem is when I don't know, I give a low one. And that surely didn't help the total numbers. But now I'm not saying that's all the low scores, but I'd like to see it changed. And that may be one of the committees that we're going to get a chance to talk about being able to form later on that could add to the evaluation and really truly showing, his abilities as our director and administrator. I think just on that fact right there, my scores would be a lot higher. But when the evaluation asks about community sides that, we've just had a disagreement about, and there's about a third of them that's just related to the community and that effort right there, in which they still should be, a lot of them, then that reflects also on someone on my end of the spectrum. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but a better way of wording or a better evaluation, I'd be all in favor of.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one other question I would like to ask on that. Will this be something, from our strategic plan? I know we've had meetings, laying out our strategic plan. We're gonna talk about that later in this meeting. But would that be something in maybe the month of June or July that we sit down as a board at a special call meeting to put together, that evaluation process and how that's gonna work?
If, you know, if we as a board, if we move away from the evaluation that we just completed, I think it's in proper order that we then come up with it will have to come up with a new model. My motion was to base that evaluation upon our strategic plan that we as a board put together. So yes, Mr. McDonald, to answer your question, that we will, effort will have to go into coming up with what that evaluation model looks like. We still have some work to do on finalizing our strategic plan for the district. So I think you could probably say those things could kind of work hand in hand, but the process of evaluation is coming up with evaluation. That's a cooperative effort between the board and the director. So the director does have input on how he would, in this case, Mr. Drummer would want to be evaluated. So he will have input on that too. So we'll have to come up with a draft, and then at that point in time where we can take input from board members, and then ultimately that would go through a final approval.
Well, I will agree with Mr. Howard and say that this evaluation that we're using, I know has been used the last 9 years and is very outdated. So I'm excited that we're gonna go away from that and go to a new evaluation that would work best for us and work best for Mr. Drumbarger.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Getting back to the scores, Mr. Drumbarger, just for our audience to know, they're on questions 1 through 23, and I forget exactly what the core of those questions were. The composite score that Mr. D scored on those was a 3.12. Staff and personal relations, there were approximately 11 questions there. It was scored at a 3.3. Educational leadership, there was approximately 8 questions regarding educational leadership, and the score was 3.21. Business and finance, there were 3 questions regarding that subject, and that was scored at a 3.11. Strategic planning, there were 4 questions, 4 questions on that, and that score was a 2.89. So if you look at 3 being what you would expect, then anything below that, again, should be commented on. And I would ask any board members that submitted an evaluation, if you did on a specific question score lower than score 2 or lower, if you would like if you would be willing to take the opportunity to go back and clarify exactly what led you to that score, that would be helpful, because evaluation is one of the part of evaluation is to look for areas of improvement to improve on, and by knowing, I think Mr. D will work towards achieving meeting expectations. So, but on the strategic planning, was the lowest of all the composite scores, and this is with all the scores of all members, their tallies. Again, strategic planning is something that should not be fully left to the director, and I think as a board we're starting to take action on that. And so while I don't question the way it was scored and the way how you scored that, I think it's something that we could collectively as a board do a better job in providing guidance for our director. So now I let Mr. D give you the opportunity to respond from your side.
I thank the board for your time and consideration. Thank you for all that you do and the support you give me. I appreciate the evaluation. There were even the negative comments. There were things that I need to grow on, and I do appreciate that. I know I'm work in a position where I'm not going to be, everybody's not going to be in agreement with every decision, and I don't know anybody that has that luxury. But I am motivated by students every day. My decisions are based on students, right or wrong. I try and focus on students first, and sometimes that makes big people upset, and I understand that, but right or wrong, that's my motivation always. And so work hard, love kids, work hard and pursue excellence. It's not something that I say, it's something I really try and live in this job every single day. And I'm proud of the faculty and staff, all of the administrators in our county that do the very same thing. I believe that we have an excellent school system, not a perfect one. It's not utopia, but it is a very, very excellent school system. It's evidenced by the fact that we have people that are trying to come here to work. We're not losing people to other districts, we have just the contrary. And so that's evidence that the hard work that the people are doing in the trenches every day, that I have the fortune of standing on their shoulders, it's evidenced by their hard work. So I just thank the board for all their input. I appreciate all the strong positive comments. I take to heart the negative ones, and those are definitely things that I'll work on, and I look forward to moving forward, working with you on a new evaluation model in the coming year. So thank you.
Okay, any other comments before we move on?
I just want to say thank you for the breakdown of this. I don't remember, of course, I'm sort of new still at the evaluation part, but I like the breakdown, how the votes, and I don't remember if we did that last year or not, but I like it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Howard. I take credit for that.
You did good.
No, it was there last year too.
No,
You take full credit for it.
Well, we have a couple breakdowns. I'm going to take credit for what I did. How's that? Just for our audience, the board, there were 5 categories that, 6 categories where the board as a whole, the average was 3.5 or higher. And there were approximately there were 9 categories where the composite was below 3, and this is out of a 52 question evaluation. And then there was there was 23 where the board's collective score was 3.0 to 3.49, and so the majority of the evaluation, the majority of the questions, the board was in agreement of meeting and exceeding expectations. So again, noted there's some items that the board thought we needed to maybe revisit, and trust, as Mr. D said, he would look at those and see, evaluates his performance going forward. You were probably impressed with what Ms. Rush said. I'm sorry, Mr. Howard, I jumped the gun taking credit on that. My bad.
I was impressed,
all right.
So thank you.
All right, any other discussion by the director and his evaluation? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's approval of teacher tenure.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, yes.
Do we not need a motion to approve the evaluation?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Yes, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the evaluation results as were presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Howard. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other discussion on our director? Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is teacher tenure. We have been presented with names of teachers who have achieved status of being able to, who have achieved requirements for being recommended for tenure. So Mr. Drummer, I'll let you speak to just that process and just educate our listeners as far as what that involves.
Yes, we have several teachers tonight that we're proud to recommend for tenure. Tenure now for teachers means they have to be in at least their 5th year of teaching. They have to have their the last 2 years have to be a 4 or 5 on a scale of 5 on the TVOS scale and LE scale. So we're excited tonight to have several teachers and many of them with us tonight. We're going to, if it pleases the board, I'm going to read the list of names and we'll ask those folks to stand and be honored as we read your names. We have Mr. Ryan Allen, Curtis Beatty, Lacey Clark, Danny Dunn, Nicole Gomez, Roger Haston, Shayla Hawes, Olivia Haynes, Sabrina Holman, Heather Jolly, April Lawler, Allison Lumpkin, Lacey Mapes, Rachel Parks, Aaron Sullins, Alicia Walker, and Tiffany Ward. So we're thankful and so appreciative and proud of these teachers who have earned tenure status with us.
Thank you. So board members, we have these teachers have been recommended for our approval of tenure for them. So at this time I would entertain a motion to approve tenure for those that have been listed. Have a motion by Ms. Hastings. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Any discussion?
I do just want those teachers that are in attendance with it, I want to say thank you. I know it's not an easy job, and you guys are in the trenches every day, and we get to sit up here and tell you what the policies are going to be, but you guys are in with the students every day, and we appreciate that. And I just want, those folks to know, and all the others that are, on that list to know that we appreciate what you're doing. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McDonald, I couldn't say anything better. We're very proud of our teachers, and we're very proud of you. I know the majority of your career has probably been through COVID, or still fighting the repercussions of COVID, and it's been tough. So I compliment you on that, and hopefully look forward to next 30 years, 35 years, 40 years.
Yeah, no one's
Can we-
saying a word.
Don't scare them off, Mr. Howard. We need them.
I thought I'd get my auctioneering voice going right there, but we're very proud of you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. Anything else? Echo that. Congratulations to y'all. All right, next item on our business.
Got to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we,
I'm gonna be a parliamentarian.
okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Keep me on track. It's been a long day. All right, so have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, at this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So now officially, congratulations.
Congratulations, teachers.
All right, next item on our agenda is approval for makeup time for snow days for our support staff. So Mr. D, I'll let you speak to what you.
Yes, each year we have a number of snow days. This year was a small number. It was actually, I think, 4 and a virtual day that we had to pull off for a number of reasons. But we had 5 days in total that I would like to request the board. Traditionally, the board will forgive 5 days, and it allows our staff to make up that time. I always have a problem costing people money when the weather is bad. It's not their fault, and so they count on being able to make up those hours and earn that time back. They don't get it for free. They have to work those hours, and many of them work extra throughout the year in the anticipation that the board is going to approve that. So if it pleases the board, I'd like to recommend that the board allow for the makeup, if they so choose, for our support staff to make up 5 days of missed time due to inclement weather.
Okay, board members, so it's been recommended to us that we approve the makeup time for our support staff at 5 days by our director. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Robinson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is the Student School Board Representative. Representatives. For those in the audience that may not know, there are some districts within the state that allow for the board member to have a student representative, and there's a number of different ways that can be done. But Mr. McDonald brought that up and asked for that to be put on the agenda tonight, so this time I'll recognize Mr. McDonald to explain his request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that, and I appreciate Mr. Brown bringing, the scope representative last month to our meeting. Very informative, very, eye-opening to me, and, something that, stood out to me was the student that he brought, Miss Kylie Moore, was very, very, in-depth with what she talked about as far as what she learned at scope. And that led me down, I guess, a rabbit hole to find out about student board members on an elected public board of education. So I reached out to several different people. Mr. Ben Torres at TSBA, and he gave me the statute, the state statute 492.202, 201. Says, notwithstanding in this section to the contrary, the Board of Education for each LEA that operates one or more high schools may annually select prior to commencement of the new school year high school students to serve as advisory, non-voting members of the board. If the Board of Education selects high school students to serve as an advisory, non-voting member of the board, they shall select not more than 4 students to serve each year. The students serve without compensation, but may, at the discretion of the board, be reimbursed for reasonable and necessary expenses incurred while engaged in board business. That just led me to talk with some folks who, and I asked if they could provide me with a list, and I provided you with that list as well, of other school systems in our district or in our state that have board members that are students. And then you also have a model policy from 3 different boards of education, and the one I think that would benefit us most is the Germantown Municipal School District, and they have a whole policy of, you know, what those students are. They could be juniors and seniors in high school, so you could start with a junior and a senior, and then your junior would serve this year, or their junior year, and then could also be held over to their senior year. So they can serve 2 consecutive years on the board. We could bounce ideas off of them. They could talk with us and be open and free to know that they can discuss things that are going on in the schools. And to me, I think it would be something beneficial for us to be able to hear a student's perspective on some of the things that we talk about on a monthly basis. Getting into budget times, it would also help those folks on, those kids on understanding how to do a budget and what kind of money goes through our school system. But they would be a non-voting member. So I would like for us to kind of discuss maybe bringing this to fruition maybe in the next school year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
And I'll answer any questions if I can. I don't know if I can or not, but.
Do board members have any comments to what Mr. McDonald's brought before us?
So did you say that we may have someone here that has examples, or do you?
No, they didn't. I'd spoken with Cumberland County's director of school, or not director of schools, but their chairman. Cumberland County actually has, they have board members from they have one board member from each school, from Stone Memorial and Cumberland County High School, that serve on their board as a student representative. She told me that, the pros for them was to be able to get advice from them, but it was like pulling teeth to get them to talk. So that would be one of the things we really look for, an outgoing personality, someone who maybe is in leadership in the school, whether it be student council, whether it be, you know, your FFA president or whatever, but I think that would be something that we could talk with Mr. Brown, maybe the administration at the high school. Because Mr. Brown has been through SCOPE for many, many years. And if you don't know what SCOPE is the student council on public schools or
Student Council on Policies and Education.
Policies and Education. And TSP puts that on each year at Rebecca or Belmont, and those students get to go, and sit in on board meetings and actually run for positions, whether it be a board member or a superintendent, or, you know, just whatever they, you know, how we run our business, they do that on a 2-day basis there. So, I think it would be something that we could benefit from, you know, a different set of eyes that's coming from inside the school. I think it would work out okay for us.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Any other questions, comments? Ms. Hasty?
I was just gonna say the same thing practically, I think it'll be a good opportunity.
You gotta
We're close.
they can't hear you.
We don't care. I think it'd be a great opportunity for not only the students, but the board as well. Although, I think it was Kylie that mentioned that she thought it was a great opportunity when they went and, you know, just getting their input. The only thing is, that's what I was gonna say, is some of them are a little cautious on, you know, speaking up or letting us know kind of what the things are going on in the school system. So we would definitely need to get someone that was outgoing and not afraid.
And that was what the chairman at Cumberland County told me. She said it was, very hard to get them to wanna talk because they were afraid that their peers
Right.
would think, well, you're snitching on me, you're telling on me. And that's not what we want. We don't want them to feel that they're going to be the outcast at their school. We just want to possibly foster an idea of, you know, maybe a student running for this board as an adult.
And hopefully, once they got in here and started seeing that things might get changed or certain, issues would take a different direction, maybe that instead of them feeling like they're outcasting or maybe snitching on someone, that maybe more people would come forward and say, hey, let's see if we can get this changed, let's see if we can get this done, as far as student wise.
Thank you, Ms. Hasty. Ms. Snell?
I'm thinking that we might could move this in a positive direction, instead of them being treated like the snitch, that they could be their peers' outlet to come to the board with something that's very important to the students.
Great.
And if you look in that Germantown model policy, it says down there, they can present a report at regular meetings regarding student activities in the district. So, I mean, that's, and they could even serve on some of the committees that we have, but they're just a non-voting member of our board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. McDonald, for doing a lot of legwork on this. I think this would be a win-win, 100% positive for our student body, for this board. I think a lot of good ideas and activities could be exchanged, but also I would like to see also that whoever this position, who would get this position, it would be seen as a reward, because we have a lot of fantastic leaders. We've seen that through example that Ms. Moore, she came and spoke, and other activities with FFA and Daniel Austin about winning state. We have a lot of state winning personnel in our school system. So I think bringing them in with us could just be a win-win, and I would like to see us move forward with it. And thank you for all this positive comment.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Robinson?
I agree. Go for it.
Yeah, I agree, go for it.
So I wanna say one other thing, Mr. Young. I was looking and reading down in the bottom, you know, it says the board representative will not make motion, second, or vote. They won't attend executive offices or hold board offices. They will not participate in board discussions or receive board materials concerning topics that are sensitive or personal matters. They would receive everything that we receive, with the exception of an appeal to the board or something that was involving student discipline. So that would be something that Mr. D would have to retract from, you know, from those folks. But it would also, it said that we could ensure that they would receive the training and the monthly materials so that they can satisfactorily serve on this board. So I would like for us to make a recommendation of two students. And we'll get to that when we make the motion here in a minute.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Just for our audience and board members as well, the list, the information that was provided to us, there's approximately 17 other districts that have student representatives on their board. In our district, one, and that would be Cumberland County. No other districts in our area have student representatives on the board. So there's a lot of positives that come from this, and this time I would make a motion that we do adopt having a student representative on our board for the 2024-2025 school year.
Just one, or do you want to do two? I would like to see it be a rising senior and a rising junior.
Second that.
All right, so you're gonna make a motion to,
I can, however you want me to do it. I will make a motion that we move forward with the student body representative on this board to be compromised of a rising senior at White County High School and a rising junior at White County High School.
okay.
And we're gonna have to sit down and come up with policy, but that can be at a later time.
All right, so the motion Mr. McDonald made was that if we do pass student representatives on our to be members of our board, that consists of a rising junior and a rising senior. So at this time, with that motion being made, this time all those in favor of Mr. Guys. Okay, thank you. He is on it tonight. I have a second with Mr. Howard. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman, did I hear you or did you state the year correctly?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2023, 2024. Is that all it said? Yeah, that would be 2023, 2024 school year.
Y'all correct me, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was hoping.
And they would serve from August the 1st through June, or through the end of the school year, correct? Would that be right?
Yeah, that's what we want to put in policy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the motion would be for approving student representatives on our board for 2023-2024 school year, consisting of a rising junior and a rising senior. So let's vote on that, consisting of a rising junior and a rising senior. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Any other discussion on adding student representatives to our board? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So, as policy chair, I will go through the process. We'll start drafting up some policy around this new approach that we're taking, and we'll try to have that available at our next committee meeting. Try to get prepared for the upcoming school year. So appreciate your input. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention, Mr. McDonald.
Yeah.
All right, next item on our agenda is approval of agreement with Sidekick Therapy Partners. Mr. D, I'll let you speak to that. We discussed this a little bit in committee.
Yes, this is a company that'll come in and work with our special needs students, and they'll offer OT and PT services. They work particularly with families that are on TennCare, and they bill TennCare directly, and so it's no cost to the school system. Actually saves the school system in the sense that our folks that we usually pay for those services then can work with other students, and it frees up time there. So it's very helpful to the system. It's very similar to what we do with counseling with the Centerstone program, in the way that they do counseling and bill that directly. This group does it with physical OT and PT services. So I recommend that we partner with the Sidekick to start those services in the next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. D. So it's been recommended that we approve an agreement with Sidekick therapy partners to assist with some of the therapy that is provided in our district. So this time, we'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
So a motion by Ms. Haston, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Stone. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a question as far as, because there is several pages. As far as like insurance or any kind of legal, things that we could get into as far as, is that covered, our policy covers it?
Yes, and they have their own insurance, they're covered in the same regard. There was one portion, there was one in the contract that maybe you're looking at, there was a section in which they required an aide to go into the room, similar to what we do with ESL students. That part was taken out. We're not gonna provide any staff to service this. This will be solely their function, and should be, like I said, it should actually save the school system some time and money and allow this personnel to work with other students.
Are these folks that are coming in, are they vetted through Sidekick as far as, background check?
Yes, that's correct. It's actually part of the agreement. And we get to, in any of those situations, we had one recently, and we've had that before when we had third-party vendors. We get to see those backgrounds as well, and we've actually not allowed some of those folks that maybe that party has agreed to, but we've denied those folks coming in after seeing some background checks. So what they find acceptable may not be what we find acceptable. So we have exercised that right, and we'll do that here as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is approval of the White County High School social probation proposal. As we all know, keeping students in school and having them attend the time that's outlined by law is a big deal, and sometimes those things can be stretched a little bit. This proposal for social probation, the intent is to try to address chronic absenteeism, and so that's what was being presented. And I know that some of our high school administrators have put this together, making a recommendation. They are here tonight. I think Mr. Haley, Mr. Aaron here. So at this time, if I would recognize you, if y'all would like to come and speak to that and what your proposal is. Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I think you all have a packet of information. I did make some changes, so if you want those, like I gave Mr. D some stuff, but there is some additional statistics on the second page. So just to address, my name is Nathan Aaron. I'm assistant principal at the high school. I work primarily with, I'm personally deals primarily with attendance. Also work with safety and standardized testing and testing coordinator for the end of course exams and ACT. But this is my 15th year as an educator, 8th as a administrator. 12 of those 15 years have been here in this system. This is my 6th consecutive year as far as working with attendance. As you can see, that one page, the second page that I come together, it has our rates for the last few years. If you look at that, it's steadily climbed with the exception of 2020, 2021. That is probably skewed somewhat because of how many times that students were quarantined, and those didn't count toward the chronic absenteeism rate. So it dipped there for a little bit, but it's gone back up. And if you look at the state rate, we're below it still as a high school, and we are below that as a district, but we're closer to it as a high school. There are some places whenever I was reading that they're in the 20% nationwide, as far as 20% of their students are missing 18 that's a lot. You can look at those stats, I'm not gonna read that. You all can read that as far as like what you're doing, if you're just missing like a day or 2 weeks, or a couple days a month, and then if you're tardy, what that can add up to, over time. We currently have 4 students that will count on our graduation rate so far. We've already lost all 4 of them were chronically absent whenever they left us. We have 4 more that are probably on the fence that could graduate, depending on what they do with like semester exams and all that stuff. All 4 of them are chronically absent. So there is a link there. One reason to focus on this, you know, everybody talks about graduation rates, and ours has been pretty good for a rural district. I think last year we were 96, somewhere in that neighborhood, for that. And that counts toward, graduation rate counts 5% of our report card. Chronic absenteeism is 10%. So I think this is something that goes hand in hand, and I think that if we focus on this, it will then help increase our graduation rate. But as far as some just other stats, like that you're looking at there, by 9th grade, attendance is a better predictor for a student graduating than their middle school test scores. You could look at the scatter plot there on that first page. It kind of shows all of our students, like where they fall. We've got students that are missing close to 80 days of school. And then you look right there, we have a bunch that are even in that 20 to 40 category. But you look at how much instruction that they're missing during that time. But you can look, I don't know if Mr. D, you give updated numbers like on
I believe I did. I'll have to look in the package.
So if you look at the part kind of highlighted, if it's black and white, that's kind of what we're like the proposal that we want to look at. Started out a little bit lower.
Sorry, we did not. The packet, the one they have in the packet was the 18 was the.
Okay, so you can look at the new, the one that I handed you has the updated numbers. To me, a little high, but at the same time, you've got to be, got to work with them. We have some other things that we are looking at exploring to help tackle student absenteeism. So if you're looking at that, the baseline for as far as like removal of some privileges, again, this isn't, believe it or not, from looking at like our students, this is probably 15. By the time we get to that, I mean, we're usually, there'll be some that are affected by this, but from my experience, the ones that are at 15 total absences, a lot of times those are not the ones on the approvals. That's just my experience doing this for 6 years. That would be as far as like the revocation of some of those privileges. 20 total absences for 10 unexcused absences, all previous consequences, no informal attendance. 25 total absences for 12 unexcused absences, all of that, prom attendance. 30 total absences, 15 unexcused, all that, no participation in graduation ceremonies. Right now we have, I think there were 3 seniors that would fall into this category that are up past 30. Two of them are on the fence whether or not they're going to graduate anyway. So, yeah, so there is a link with the absenteeism and success. If you look on that very back page that has like our stats and things like that on there, if you look at that, some research and stuff like that I looked at, one study showed that they followed 648 students from birth until about age 22, 23, so a very long study. Out of that, they showed that they were 5% less likely to vote in elections if they were chronically absent during that time. Also, as you can expect, less likely to go to any type of post-secondary institution, also more likely to not have to struggle financially as far as like being able to maintain a job. There were some other things like that were in there. Another study showed that only 11% of those students who were chronically absent in high school made it to the second year of college, compared to 51% of those who had better attendance records. Only 10% of the students who were chronically absent in 9th grade enrolled in any type of post-secondary institution Does anybody have any questions as far as, I mean, I know that's a lot of information, I've updated it since, I've given that to Mr. D earlier in the week, I think that that's, we've run the numbers, I think it's a lot still, but that's something to start and see how that, affects everything.
So, Mr. Aaron, you, this is something that internal administration has come up with to try to deal with, dealing with absentees and tardiness, those that go hand in hand. We haven't had anything like this in place before as far as this type of punishment, so board members, this would be something that, administration has been bringing to us. And so, apology for that, recognizing recognizing the problem and working to try to do something to curb the trend, because obviously in the past 4 years that is a trend. So so it's again as I said, you're looking at this policy that would be implemented in high school, not district wide, but high school specific. This was something the internal policy that they'd be working with to try to promote attendance. So that's what we're being presented with tonight.
School board members, just wanted to say, this is something, Coach Aaron worked very hard on, and staff, and they worked on something Mr. Haley, working with attendance, has talked with us, extensively about. And it's something I can get behind. We bring it to you tonight because when we start removing prom privileges, you're going to hear about it. And when we start saying you're not going to walk at graduation, the board's going to hear about it. And so we're asking the backing of the board in order to know that the school system is serious about students being in school every day. I'm serious about our workers being in school every day. And, this is just, this is a way of emphasizing that and keeping the focus on learning, which it should be. And so I can get behind this and support this. They thought through it, they went back and made revisions and raised the thresholds to what they originally were. I think this is very doable, but one point I want to make is that as we look at how our schools are judged from the state level on the different metrics, chronic absenteeism weighs more than our graduation rate. So even though our graduation rate is very high, this is still getting us because we have kids that are graduating but they're missing a third of their year, and that's just not the real world. You just can't miss that many days of work and still get paid. So I get behind this, but we want the board to know that we want the board behind it because ultimately, there is going to be some pushback when we have to take prom away, and we want the support of the board knowing that they take passing chronic absenteeism seriously as well.
Yes, Mr. Aaron, I want to say thank you for the work you put in. I had a conversation with Mr. Drummer earlier about an event that we're going to have to attend as a board in July. And, I'm going to have to miss part of that because my job requires me to be there. And it's one of those things when your job requires that you got to be there. These students need to take school as seriously as they're going to take their job. And I think we're being very lenient here, but I understand you got to have somewhere to start. And I appreciate the work you put in, but like I said, those folks that are
that's just not real. You cannot, function in society like that.
Any other questions, comments, Mr. Aaron?
in the fall state convention for attendance, and I served on a panel. And one of the other gentlemen serving with me, he had what's called a chronic illness form that they did in their county, and they started targeting that when students had missed 10 excused absences. And so what that boils down to is when students hit that threshold, we're going to give those families that chronic illness form to take to a doctor, and we're trying to identify if there's a chronic illness that's going to require a student to possibly miss 30 or 40 days of school because of sickness that is there that they can't help beyond their control. And if we get that brought back to us from a doctor, then we're not gonna, I'm not gonna say we're not gonna worry about those kids missing that amount of school, but it makes us look at it with a completely different approach. However, if a doctor doesn't tell us that there's something chronic going on, then that leads us to believe that maybe they are manipulating the system and doctor hopping, if you will. And it's very easily done because a lot of the clinics, they have multiple doctors in there. And so, you know, they may have 20 excused absences, never see the same doctor over 2 or 3 times. And so, but that would be what we've got that there in place. And I think, yes, to answer your question, that's going to help us at the middle school level. We looked at trying to implement, piggyback off what he has come up with. There's just not really a whole lot of privileges to take away at the K-8 level because they don't have the prom and they don't have the graduations, and they do have the sporting teams and stuff like that. So it is definitely on the list for us to talk to the middle school about, you know, because we have time for time has always been 6-12. I know the high school has changed that approach a little bit, but I think that this could be something that we could build on a little bit at the middle school that kind of introduces them, you know, it kind of gives a stepping block, if you will, there. And then to go along with that chronic illness form, I think naturally would help us K-12. It helps their numbers as well. And that way, if we have a student missing that many days and we can't get a doctor to help fill out this form for us, then, you know, at that point, I don't feel as bad about a student having to miss graduation because they didn't meet a benchmark.
I'd still like to encourage you though, I mean, you and I are past the point of probably remembering how important recess was to us, or playing on the elementary basketball team, or if they had a homecoming where you got to walk and, you know, supposedly hold a little girl's arm and, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. But anyway, I really believe that a lot of it is parents' problems in elementary school and not kids. But I don't know the solution. I'll rely on your expertise for information, but if there's something you could get instilled into the parents that would encourage them to say, hey, school is for real and you need to take it for real, and not be truant, not be late, not be any of the above. You know where I'm going with all this.
And I just rest assured, we are in the elementary schools having meetings with parents. We are focusing on attendance there just as hard as we do the middle and high school.
Thank you.
And we have procedures in place for those families and students as well.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you, the numbers at the elementary school, they are just not as explosive as what they get to the high school, because when you get to that, really grade 7 is where you start seeing students want to play hooky and use excuses to be out of school and those type things. So I'm not telling you we don't have miscued numbers in K-5, because we do, Mr. Howard, we certainly do, but they are not as prominent as what you see at the high school level. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Aaron or Ms. Trevor? Okay, I think we have a motion and a set. Ms. Hastings, do you have something you want to add? Are you sure? Okay,
Well,
Ms. Stone, I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna ask, I mean, I know a lot of times, when you get around some of the, times of, families might go on vacation and take their kids out of school for 4 or 5 days, and then they might have a few more unexcused. How does that play in, if their parents take them out of town to, grandma had a funeral or something? Is that considered excused?
Those are covered as excused absences. There's 8 provisions in the school board policy what's considered excused, and funerals and et cetera are considered that, and we do have procedures in place that when we're handling funerals, that may be extensive travel or something. For example, a rule of thumb might be, if warranted, we give them a day to travel, we give them a day for the funeral and a day to travel back or something. But that would, all those absences, whether they're excused or not, they would calculate in that total absence number. And we do allow parent notes, and those are covered, right? Like at K-8, you get 5 parent notes per school year, and at the high school, you get 3 parent notes per semester. And those are excused, where we don't require families to go to doctors, et cetera, because everybody can't go to the doctor every time they get a sniffle. But all absences, because chronic absenteeism deals with all absences, excused, unexcused, doesn't matter. The thought process behind chronic absenteeism is that they're not in front of the teacher, so they're missing instruction, and when you miss instruction, you're falling behind academically.
So is this total numbers for the whole entire year, or is it for the?
That's the high school numbers.
It is for the
Which
entire
one?
year. The totals you gave us, the 30 and the missing, the highlighted one.
Yeah,
Yes,
make sure that everybody is clear. This
For the whole-
proposal that is presented to you tonight, that would only be currently grades 9 through 12, high school only. That has nothing to do with K-8. But to let you know, we are gonna look at maybe trying to morph that with something at the middle school if we can. And we've got the other chronic illness form to try to help deter those excessive excused absences as well.
I feel like with the no prom and the no winter formal and the that's gonna target more of your junior, senior children, but really your freshmen and
Winter
sophomore.
formals for all of them.
But I'm talking about, some of it, like, I know the homecoming and the pep rallies target those more, but really and truly, the junior, seniors have more to lose than miss than.
And that's kind of, when they start getting older, that's when we usually start seeing it. Like this will also would help with our 18-year-olds that we really can't do anything to make sure that they're there, and other than hoping that the parents and families have instilled that in them, and that they want to come to school and that they want to graduate. I mean, it's not perfect for all grade levels, but that's just kind of where we're seeing. You start seeing it kind of tick up as they get older as well, when they start driving.
I just want y'all to be prepared. No prom, I mean, I'm not saying this is not a good opportunity or program that you're gonna put together, but just so you know.
Well, that was a conversation I had with Mr. Aaron in my office on Tuesday. I'm like, look, I'm not saying I don't like this idea, but you need to go back and talk to your team because you're gonna be challenged. And you're gonna be challenged on May the 17th when it's time to graduate on May the 19th or 16th, 15th, you know. And we looked at moving some of those numbers because I'm like you. I saw what you see, Ms. Haston. I see that the prom and the graduation, you think of those things. You think of juniors and seniors, and those are the big events for high school. However, there's some things there to target and deter. There are freshmen and sophomores that go to the prom. They have to be asked, but they can go to the prom. Of course, it's not going to affect their graduation, but I think if we start removing some things at an early age, then hopefully that builds the consistency we're looking for when they get older, and maybe those things don't have to happen. And it also helps them get to graduation. We're graduating a good number. I don't want you guys to think that 96% graduation rate, you're not going to do a whole lot better than that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I think we have a motion and a second for approval of the social probation proposal as presented by the White County High School. This time, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I know in the past, our visitors that are with us.
Yes, Mr. McDonald, I have been informed that I need to pause. There's some looks like some sleepy eyes in the audience. Feel free to leave at any time that you feel like you need to leave. That will not impact our meeting whatsoever. All right, but we do appreciate you joining us and being here tonight. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is approval of our fiscal year 2024 fundraisers. You've been given all the requests for fundraisers by our various organizations throughout the district that would be effective for the 23-24 school year. It was summarized for you in the first couple of pages, and then you have the details that follow that. So these fundraisers are consists of various things from our, from yearbook to science clubs to our sporting teams and other organizations throughout the district. So that's been presented to us tonight for approval. Mr. Drumbarger, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yes, just briefly, this is White County High School only, and they have presented these to you a little bit early because they have some summer programs that need to take place. Some of these clubs and sports teams will be doing their fundraising during the summer, and so they've asked for us to bring these forth. I've reviewed all these, and Principal Wilson has reviewed all these. I don't see anything in here that causes alarm. There were two that we pulled that we had some questions about and we've sent back to be reviewed. But the rest of these feel very confident about. Most of these, 90% of these, the board has seen before, and they're repeat fundraisers, and I feel confident bringing them before you tonight for approval. And you will see the remaining, a few from the high school and the remaining middle school and elementaries next month.
Okay, thank you. So approvals of our fiscal year 2024 23-24 fundraisers. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Howard. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is our public comment. Our sign-up sheet tonight, we had no one that wished to make comments tonight. So this time I'll move to our next item, which is our district report, and that would be Director of School, Mr. Kronberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a personnel report in your folders about employee transactions. That will be lengthy next month, as all of the new hires that we've been doing here in the past month will be on next month's report. But very proud of the new folks we have coming on and the new talent we're bringing in, and you'll see all those names in the near future. Almost all of our open positions are filled for next year. I think we have maybe one certified position left that we're working on, and so we have several staff positions, but we feel good about filling those. So we're in a really good place, all things considered. Non-renewal letters will be issued tomorrow. That's the teachers that will not be returning, and then by rule, those letters go out to all non-tenured teachers at the end of each year. As far as safety goes, we've developed, each school has developed threat assessment teams, and those team members are undergoing extensive training. The idea is to identify risk factors and to intervene quickly and early if there's a credible or imminent threat. More safety enhancements are planned for our buildings, our schools, through next year's budget as well. Academically, TCAP testing is over, and we're currently waiting on raw scores so that those can be included in students' grades for the year. Athletics, spring sports are winding down with the school year. White County High School softball was supposed to play tonight. I think they got rained out, so they're still playing, and there's supposed to be a soccer tournament as well. But sports are winding down as well. Although there are also fall sports are already in conditioning, and spring football is going on, so it never stops. Attendance is good overall, but as we heard about chronic absenteeism, that's an issue that we need to tackle, so appreciate the board's support on that. As far as our buildings go, the Bonnycoff project is moving on. It's fallen behind because of some weather issues, but the foundation work continues. The high school softball hitting facility has slowed a bit. We're going to seek an update on that and see where they are on that project. Numerous small-scale building projects are being planned and worked on, and summer projects are being lined up as well. As we said earlier, we are live streaming our board meetings on a YouTube platform. It is actually on the White County School Board YouTube page, so that's where we'll find it. We'll make sure that that is out on our website and out on our Facebook page, and so people can find us there. Warrior Academy graduation is tomorrow at 6 p.m. You're all invited. You don't have to be part of the ceremony, but you're certainly welcome to witness it. It's a great time for those students. I think we have 31 students that are graduating out of that program, and that is a reason why we have a 96% graduation rate. So we're really proud of those folks that will be graduating tomorrow night. The traditional ceremony is Monday the 15th at 7. You're invited, and you actually participate in that. You will meet, we meet at 6:30, 6:45 in the bottom part of the academic wing, and we'll fit you with a robe, and then we'll march out together. And you don't have to speak unless you want to. You just have to stand and look pretty, and we would love to have your attendance there at 7 on Monday night. And at this point, that completes the director's report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Shoot, I didn't know I could speak.
I bet you.
What's more
Thank you, Mr. Drumbarger. Any questions regarding our district report? Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is our committee reports, and start with policy. This month we are to review section 6 policies, and if anything comes up from that review that you'd like to bring up that we need to draw our attention to, please be prepared to do that at our June meeting. During our committee meeting tonight, we had discussion on policy 1404, and that's appeals and appearances before the board. The discussion was coming out of the committee was consideration of splitting those two into two different policies, a policy on appeals to the board and a policy regarding appearances to the board. So coming out of committee, that doesn't need a motion or a second, so this time we would have a motion on whether or not we'd like to proceed with that. Excuse me, discussion on whether or not we'd like to proceed with that.
As I stated, Mr. Young or Mr. Chairman, in the policy and committee meetings, there is a difference between an appearance and an appeal. I think an appeal is a more formal term, and an appearance is something that we can do through our public comment section, that we already do, and I think that's a great thing that's been added to that. I would like to see us continue to do that, and an appearance to me would be someone who has an idea or something that's on their agenda that they would like to speak on, and I welcome those folks to come and to speak to the board in a whole. So I would like to see us pursue splitting those out and just getting some clarity out to the public to know. I think there's some misunderstanding on some things. So I would like to see us proceed with that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that I would like Mr. McDonald said, for the community to know that we're doing this as a positive thing to encourage them to come and speak, and so that I'd like to see that their word is that way also.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other comments? So we would be voting on proceeding with separating these into two separate policies. Just want to make sure it's clear that everybody knows what we're voting on. This policy will remain in place until we would get those policies drafted and go through the appropriate approval process. So it's not going to change anything immediately if we approve going forward with that. But it would just give us some direction, and then we could go and have our input on those policies as they were drafted. So any other discussions on that? Okay, if not, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll work to start drafting up those two in separate policy. All right, next item on our agenda is committee reports is maintenance. Mr. Robinson.
Yes, my schedule, we start with high school, is working on the doors and closers. Middle school is general maintenance. Bonnie Croft construction is still going on and they're running behind. Castle general maintenance. Woodland's getting ready for restroom renovations and built third grade hallways. Work on keying solution for Doyle, and Northfield general maintenance also at Fenner. That's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Any questions for maintenance? Okay, next item of report is school reports. Ms. Haston.
Bonnie Croft teachers and students have been celebrating this year's accomplishments while preparing for the upcoming school year. Teachers and students are excited to close out another year, and everyone is excited to see what the next year holds for our Bonnie Croft family. Cassville is celebrating big in the last few weeks of school. We wrapped up the TCAP and the map, and we're excited to see the results of our hard work. We have a lot of fun activities and lessons planned for the next few weeks. Doyle will be celebrating our student success with our tribe awards next week. We'd like to say a huge thank you to our Sparta Tractor Supply for working with our students on flower pots for Mother's Day. And finally, the students and teachers are finishing up a very strong year. MAP testing is wrapping up for our students, and our spring scores are showing positive results. We will be celebrating the end of the year with our award program next week to showcase student achievement. Northfield has completed testing for the year, and we're excited to see the results of our hard work. Our fifth graders are prepared to move to White County Middle School and continue their education. Woodland Park, we're celebrating the end of testing and having our track and field day. The student, faculty, and staff can't wait to see our scores. White County Middle School has completed its first year of online testing. We're excited about how our staff and students handle the new challenge. We hope our scores reflect the hard work and effort in pursuing excellence. Now on to award season and the end of year celebrations. White County High School is preparing our awards day and graduation. Warrior Academy has increased numbers of graduates by 12 students this year to 33. White County High School will continue the graduation festivities with 253 students receiving their diplomas and the 114th White County High School graduation ceremony. White County High School also received the Purple Star School Award on Wednesday. This award was given to just 27 schools out of about 1,700 schools across the state. Receiving the award for being a military family-friendly school is a great accomplishment. We had a great teacher appreciation week last week, and we were blessed tremendously by our wonderful community.
All right, thank you, Ms. Haston. Any questions on the report, schools report? Okay, if not, we'll move on to budget. Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have your financial reports for this month attached. The highlights is, as of April 30th, we have revenues of $29.3 million and expenditures of $22.6 million. We are tracking fairly consistent with last year's revenues versus expenditures. Keep in mind that we are expenditure heavy during the last of May and June as we close out the year. So the gap between revenues and expenditures will decrease significantly. And we want to thank Mr. Chad Markham for all he does, and especially what he's fixing to go through the next month or so with the new budgets and new monies coming in. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Chief?
Thank you, Chad. I think we just send you pictures.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to TLN. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we know, our Tennessee General Assembly adjourned April 21st, but Governor Lee has called for a special General Assembly August the 10th. I believe it's specialized about COVID-19 liability and telehealth, and we'll see if that affects our school system a lot. TSBA is sponsoring a legal lunch tomorrow at 11. I'm gonna try to catch it. Discuss what laws that passed, how they're gonna affect our school system. Hope you all learn something, be able to report next month. Also, there's a legislative workshop, August through September. I believe the closest one for us will be Cleveland, August the 31st, that we as school board members could meet and work together about the 2024 General Assembly of what we would like to see laws passed. And that's all I'll have right now, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Howard. Just board members keeping back in your mind that there is the legislative workshop, and then we have Gatlinburg coming up in July, where a lot of the legislative news will be rolled out at that time by TSBA. All right, any questions for Mr. Howard on TLN? Okay, now we'll go into items or old business. One listed is strategic plan update. The update is I do not have anything new to report since our last meeting, but based on the action we took tonight, is tying the strategic plan and our director's evaluation, we will have to address, start paying attention to that and come up with finalizing our thoughts and our plans for that. So just be prepared for that over the next coming meetings. One item that we did fail to leave off the agenda but was added back, and that was Mr. Howard had made a request. I think it was last meeting or about discussion on additional school board committees. So Mr. Howard, I would turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Virtually nothing new but what I've been asking for off and on, just to start thinking about it and encouraging. I know a lot of our meetings now are going on several hours, and that, as was stated once before, sometimes you go to the full court and their full court session lasts 20 minutes or less because they have a lot of committees. And I know committees can be good and bad. Committees can take more time, especially special trips. But in the long scheme of things, especially when we're coming into a budget season right now, we'll have more information thrown on us in just a couple of meetings right there that I think any of us could really digest. If we could just, for example, have a budget meeting every policy time frame where our budget would just cover a little part of our budget to help us understand the ins and outs, the increases, the decreases, the future projections of it, to where we could put together 12 meetings that would help us have an insight where the next couple of meetings we're fixing to have on budget could either be easier, more productive, and with less stress, because, you know, we sat tonight trying to figure out, well, what night will be good. We've got time frames on our budget, so I'd really like to encourage you, and just for the executive committee and or board members to start thinking about budget. Also, there was another thing that was brought up tonight that would be good for a committee, but we have building projects going on that I know Mr. D spends a lot of time at, and he meets with a lot of people. And you know, I have people call me about Bondycroft, and I'm just one person, I'm just one mind that sits there, might see something, might not see anything. But looking at some of our biggest expenditures and some of our issues that we want to address in the future, I would just like to encourage that, hey, buildings are a big expense. Can we look at making a small committee, you know, 2 or 3 person committee right there that would just meet once every 2 or 3 months while the project's going on? I know Mr. Robinson does a good job with updating right there, but, you know, maybe go on site and see. Real quick, I just visited the site up there. I thank Mr. D for inviting me to come, and I didn't get time to even stay for the meeting, but I got to meet and see some of the workers there and architects, and one of the things that blew my mind, and was about the foundation of the old gym, and I don't even want to bring it up, but I'd never seen a structure like that. And some of the problems that they were facing with the soil of Tennessee and the structures. Anyways, just to pass some of those things on, that, hey, we saw that. Any budget that could possibly be implemented that could possibly save time and or pushing of a lot of information down, I think would be highly recommended. And I just don't have any motions to be made, just wanted that to be spoken again, be that heard, and so everyone else could put their input on it and think about it now or later. What are you gonna do, Mr. Chairman, just for information?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. You know, from board members, you certainly have the privilege to make a recommendation, and then we as a board can discuss that and see if there is a committee needs to be formed. That has been done in the past. But the other thing is, it may be you could handle that by just trying to look for maybe there's some specifics that we would want maybe a deeper report on. Not saying that we'd have to have a committee to meet on those, but you could maybe some of the people, and I know Mr. Verdreen is overseeing some of the activities that are taking place at Bondycroft. There's a number of different ways that we could help us filter all the information that comes to us. It's the board's privilege on how we want to handle that. So if anything specific is brought up, know that myself and Mr. D would certainly entertain that. That's the reason why we wanted to get this on the agenda tonight, if there's anything specific. But if not, realize that if there is something, that we'll do our best to get that in front of the board, and we can take action if it is.
I was gonna say, if it pleases the board, I mean, as you mentioned, Mr. Vidrine, and I can have any of these folks at meetings that you would like, and I mean, we can require these people to come and, you know, to give, you know, we've had Mr. Alley come and used to give a report, and we used to have, but I can have Mr. Vidrine come. So anybody, as the board thinks about this, if you would like me to have supervisors here, I can require them to come to board meetings, and then that way, some of those questions could be answered, and they don't come just from me. Just try and respect one more night of their time. So, but it's certainly within their own possibility for them to come. And anytime, as you know, as anybody calls you with a question that you don't have the answer to, please refer them to me. I'll be glad to answer those questions for you and answer them. You can call me as well, and I'll be glad to give you that information. But just wanted to put that in. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to kind of interject something there. And as I was speaking with the chairman at Cumberland County, they have listed on their website, and I would encourage you guys to go and to explore their website and their school board members. They do committees on everything from athletics to attendance to all that. And she expressed to me, and I was hoping they would be here tonight, that they're looking to get away from committees. They're looking to get into what we are doing at our meetings and having everything at a 5 o'clock hour. So I would just implore you to, and their numbers are there, and that's where I got her number. You can call and speak with her and see how they run, you know, how they run theirs with all the committees that they have. She was just looking for ideas on how to change up their board meetings and keep them from going till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So I would just recommend reaching out to one of those members from Cumberland County, just to see how they run theirs.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We'll take into consideration both of those comments. Obviously, as a board, if there are things that we think are important enough for us to get involved and take action on, then we have certainly various ways that we can do that to support our district. But we want to certainly be respectful of people's time and also making sure that we're not encroaching on people who are taking care of handling their responsibilities that they are responsible for. So just a lot of different ways that we can get information we need, and sure our director will continue to try to gather information if requested. If we need to put that on the agenda to look at in more detail, certainly that we'll make sure that gets on. But good thoughts and good perspectives from both sides. All right, that's anything else on committees, Mr. Howard?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then next time on our business is new business. On our agenda is new business. There is no new business, so that leads us to our announcements. And as mentioned, Warrior Academy graduation will be tomorrow night, May 12th at 6 p.m. at Pike County Gymnasium. And then graduation will be on Monday, May 15th, 7 p.m. at the football field. Again, all board members are encouraged to attend those events, and it would be wise to plan to be there before those allotted times, certainly on graduation night, because it does get rather busy. We have a special call budget meeting set up scheduled for May 25th. That will be looking at the 23-24 budget. This will be discussion only, and apologize, I forgot. Are we gonna approve that, no, I'm sorry. Then we're gonna come back on the 1st of June for budget approval. That will be our next special call meeting on June 1st, to approve the budget. And then we will be moving our June 8th board meeting to June 15th, and that will be our regular scheduled board meeting at that, but that will be moved back 1 week to June 15th. So that's all the announcements. This time I take a motion for adjournment. Motion by Mr. Robinson and second by everybody else. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your comments.
Good meeting you.